Peace, love, and light to everyone out there. This is your host again, Limitless, back at you with another episode of Limitless Talk. Guys, today we're going to have a look at the pays and allowances for the members of parliament, specifically the House of Commons, and we'll go through all the other news that we have. Um, so, without further ado, let's get right into it because there's quite a few of information to go through. So, pay and expense for MPs. Right here on the UK Parliament website, it basically illustrates and gives you links to the Independent Parliamentary Standard Authority, which is the organization that's been given the authority to set the pays and the cost of members of parliament operating within their delegated capacity. So there's an act that basically gives these guys that authority. It's called the Parliamentary Standards Act 2009. So, an act to make provision establishing a body corporate known as the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority and an officer known as the Commissioner for Parliamentary Investigations to make provision relating to salaries and allowances for members of the House of Commons and to their financial interests and conduct and for connected purposes. So right here, it's got nothing to do with the House of Lords, and at the same time, nothing in this shall be construed by any court in the United Kingdom as affecting uh, the article, uh, this article within the Bill of Rights, 1689. Now, talking about the Bill of Rights is actually 1688, but they they call it 1689 because in 1752 the Gregorian calendar came into force, right? Meaning New Year now started on the 1st of January. But prior to the Gregorian calendar coming into force, New Year's was actually in March, specifically March 25th. So, because this act got a royal assent on 13th of February, right, which was before uh the the New Year's. You understand what I'm saying? They decided that it was already New Year's because of this new Gregorian calendar, even though it wasn't New Year's yet. So technically, they were still in the previous year when they gave this act the royal assent, but due to the new calendar coming in, they amended it to 1689 as if New Year had already begun because they changed the New Year's to the 1st of January. You understand what I'm saying? So the Bill of Rights basically sets out what the government can and cannot do. So the government, meaning the House of Parliament, the executive level, they they've been given the right to pass laws, raise armies, create money and all that jazz there. So that's what the Bill of Rights is all about. And at the same time, it makes it explicitly clear that the Parliament has authority over the monarch because the Parliament represents the people, specifically the House of Commons. So let's go into this right here. So pay and expenses. So if you go to the MP's pay and pension, which is on the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, which is the organization that's been commissioned to basically set the pay and allowances for the MPs. Here, it tells you we are responsible for setting and administering MPs' pay and pension independently of both Parliament and government. You can find details of the annual basic salary paid to all MPs since we launched below. So, since they've launched, if you look here, so starting from 2010, you'll see 2010, 2011, 2012, the pay was pretty much the same. 2013, the pay went up to 66,396. 2014, up to £67,060. 2015, significantly up to 74,000. April went up by £962 up to 74. You can see right there. Uh, April 2017 went up to 76,000. which is a decent jump as well. April 2018 went up to 77. April 2019 went up to 79. April 2020 went up to 81. And now uh, for 2021, where's that other article that I brought out? So for for 20 2022 2023, the salary is being increased to £84,000, so by about 2.7%. So guys, the main thing to note here is these guys are well paid and afforded well to do what they've been uh, elected to do. So if we look at the document in more details, we'll look at exactly what they can claim for and what they can't claim for. So this is the 2022-2023 MP staffing and business cost. So this doesn't include their salary. This is just the staffing and business cost. Their salary is separate from these expenses that they can claim, these allowances they've been given. So if we go through it, we'll jump to uh, accommodation cost, working from two locations and stuff like that. So this document basically illustrates how they can make claims and stuff like that, what they can claim, what they can't claim, and so on and so forth. So we'll jump to, this is chapter 3, general condition of the schemes, and of course it lists the do's and don'ts as usual. So working from two location, accommodation cost. The accommodation cost budget is designed to meet costs incurred by MPs as a result of working from two permanent locations. The rules covering claims for hotels in this chapter only applies to the use of hotels as an alternative to rental accommodation, where hotels are being claimed under travel and subsistence. For example, when MPs stay overnight when on parliamentary business outside London or their constituency. The rules relating to hotel cost in chapter 9 applies. So accommodation costs are not payable to MPs who are London area MPs or by virtue of any particular office held, occupy grace and favor accommodation in London. Accommodation costs may only be claimed for one of the following at a time: hotels or rental payment, yada yada. Yeah. So associated, and of course, for MPs who own their property, associated costs only are set out at paragraph 4.4. So associated cost. So whether these guys own their house or they pay bills or they're renting or whatever, these are the claims they can make. So this is their living expenses. So utility, gas, electricity, other fuel, and water. Council tax, that gets paid for them. Ground rent and service charges, that gets paid for them. In the case of MPs claiming under 4.3, building insurance. So 4.3 here. So rental property and stuff like that. So purchase, installation, and maintenance of routine security measures, i.e., those not falling within the recommended or further measures funded from the security assistance budget, which are covered in chapter 10. Installation of a landline, telephone line, line rental and usage charges, and installation of broadband and connection and usage charges. So guys, if you look at this right here, you can see straight away that these guys, they are not even paying anything out of their salaries. They are being afforded everything. Everything. They don't have to pay. Their salary is just their salary. Unlike the average Joe. Ordinary people out here, when we get paid, they tax us, and then whatever's left, we have to pay our electricity, accommodation, and stuff like that, which shouldn't be the case. Okay? You see, the same benefit these guys have, we also have. It's not just them. We also have the same benefit. But because we don't know how to exercise that right, okay, it's just been going to waste. That's why it's important to know, at the start of every financial year, there's always a budget. They calculate the budget for the year, how much electricity the nation needs, water, how much all of those things are gonna cost, because we're actually supposed to offset those charges with the treasury. Okay, we all have to set up an account with the treasury. That's why the national debt is high, because nobody is claiming their benefits. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody's using their benefit. And when I say claiming benefit, I don't mean applying to benefit. No. When you apply to benefit, you are dealing with an independent private government organization that they've set up. Okay? You don't make application to no benefit. You just simply create and set up an account with the treasury. So moving on, associated costs do not include, and no claims will be paid for cleaning, gardening, the purchase or maintenance of furniture, home contents, insurance, television services, or television licenses. Of course, that makes sense. Those are, yours to do. So, MPs may only claim for accommodation costs in relation to property at one location, which may be either in the London area or in the MP's constituency, unless IPSA agrees that there are exceptional circumstances that justifies claim for properties in both. So where MPs are claiming for rent and associated costs, they must be resident at the property for which claims are being made and may not sublet the property or any part. So this just goes into, later on you'll see that they show that what the particulars they have to show to prove that they actually reside in a property and stuff like that. So additional budget for MPs with dependents. So now, as much as they pay for all these things up here, all of these, which is pretty much what anyone needs, to live comfortably in this day and age, they also get supported for all the dependent, so their children or anyone that depends on them. So either biological or foster children. So next, where MPs are claiming for rent and associated costs, they must be resident at. Oh, sorry. This year, where staying in rental accommodation or hotel accommodation, MPs may have their accommodation budget limit increased by the amount set out in Annex A for each dependent. So we're gonna see those figures later on. So hotel cost, they get to expense all of that out. Of course, there's a limit as well. So registration of properties, they have to register the property they live in and stuff like that. Rental accommodation, they have to get, you know, rental agreement and stuff like that in place, which is here. You know, they get removal cost for moving to a new accommodation. Guys, they get so much benefit. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Even the cost of drawing up a rental agreement that gets paid for them. uh MP should negotiate clauses in their rental, blah blah blah. What else was I gonna show here? So MPs living in London area. So so that's their living cost, right? And then outside of that, they also have office support, so office cost. So the office building, all the associated utilities, and the staffing that they require to carry out their duties, all of that gets paid for as well. You understand what I'm saying? Except for alcoholic drinks, stationery provided by the House of Commons, newsletter funded of material other than website, and personal accountancy or tax advice. You understand what I'm saying? They have to deal with all that by themselves. But of course, they'll have the money to deal with all that, with all the money they're gonna be making. So, you know, they also get startup supplement, which is basically the cost of starting up their local office within their constituency and so on. Registration, same as where they live, they have to show proof uh, of the rental agreement or whatever, or if they own it. Uh, what else is here? Shared offices, valuations confirm the market rate. Uh, what else is here? Allowance for home working, telephone, internet, electricity, gas usages, and stuff like that. They get to be reimbursed for all that. Um, what else is in here before staffing costs? As we've mentioned, all of that gets paid for. These guys are not paying anything out of their pocket, guys. They are not paying absolutely anything out of their pocket. So it, it makes us think, why can't they do their jobs properly? You understand what I'm saying? Why can they not do their job properly? So, annual salary increase for staff. As part of the regular review of the scheme, IPSA may provide additional funds to MP staffing budget to facilitate percentage annual increase to the salaries of staff members. Such annual increase will be applied automatically except where a member of staff has been opted out of this arrangement under paragraph 7.6, will be determined by IPSA and communicated to MPs and the staff ahead of the start of the financial year. So the salary increase is determined by, you know, communicating with HMRC, certain members of the Parliament, House of Lords, to figure out basically what the new national living wage is. So this is according to the national living wage, and that's how they make that decision there. So salary sacrifice. So, anyways, let's roll down to the bottom and look at exactly what these guys get paid. So right here, budget and heading, accommodation, rental, hotel. So for 2022-2023, they're allowed to spend in London 25,080 on accommodation. Outside of London, 17,840. So you see, guys, they are afforded to live well. If you divide this by, you know uh 52 weeks, you'll see that it ranges from about 350 to about 600 pounds on a weekly basis on their accommodation. You understand what I'm saying? Your average Joe can't even afford the upper end of that. You get what I mean? So, you know, accommodation associate cost only, non-London MPs 5,910. Accommodation uplift for MPs with dependents, look at that, 5,720. Office cost, you see the figures right there. Startup supplement 6 grand. Staffing cost 237 grand. In London area, non-London 221,000. London area living payment 4,310. Additional, London area MPs 1,000, blah blah. MPs parental leave and absence 61,800. So guys, you can see right here, hotel nightly cost £190, rest of UK 150. Subsistence cost limit £25. Look at this, they get mileage for their cars, motorcycle or bicycle, whichever one it is. And then you have the job role. So as you can see, guys, they are afforded to live very, very comfortable. You understand? And all those expenses does not include the 81,932 grand salary, which is now increasing to 84,000. Now tell me, how many average Joes increase almost 4 grand, uh almost 3 grand increase on their salary yearly? I don't know anyone that receives 3 grand increase on their salary yearly. I actually don't know. And if you know anyone out there, please tell me. Maybe the upper middle class might receive that much on their salary. But again, not a lot of people are within the upper middle class. You have the lower middle class and you have the upper middle class. They're still all middle class at the end of the day. Upper middle class are those earning about 200k. You understand what I'm saying? Their household income is about 200k. They're not wealthy, but they're rich. But they're not wealthy and they're not poor. You understand what I'm saying? There's a difference between poor, rich, and wealthy. Wealthy are those people who got millions. You understand what I'm saying? About close to a million and above. You understand what I'm saying? Rich people, they're staying below that million mark. You understand what I'm saying? They're comfortable, but any little mistake and they're gonna relegate into poverty. You understand what I'm saying? And that's where most of the lower end of middle class sit at, living paycheck to paycheck. And you look at these guys, they afforded everything, meaning their money, they can use it to pay and do other things to benefit their lives. All right. So if our MPs get paid so much money and everything they do, it is not out of their own pocket, we need to start asking ourselves, why is it that these guys are never doing anything in the interest of the people? And when you start asking those questions, you realize that it's because only 10% of the people actually participate in the political process. Hence why there's that, you know, you, where we got that 10% of the ultra wealthy people from, because they're the only ones that participate. They're the bureaucrats. You understand what I'm saying? The remaining 90% of people do not participate. Hence why we're in this big mess we're in. These guys, they get paid out of public fund, meaning you can go to them and tell them to do what you need them to do. All right, we need to start taking charge. So another document I wanted to show is the main estimate for 2021-2022. So for the year ending 31st March 2022, you see right here, the financial year ends in March, but they tell you the new year starts in January. But we know they only changed the financial year to the original New Year's. You understand what I'm saying? That's what they did. They're not slick at all. So supply estimate, Independent Parliamentary Standard Authority. So for the previous financial year, uh, the figures came up to uh, two 238.1, I just say 0.2 million to fund all these things. You understand what I'm saying? So guys, go onto the UK Parliament website and basically understand how your money is being spent, because you are entitled. All of these are public. That's why it's a public information. You understand what I'm saying? It's all to do with the public. That's why they've set out all this. And also, if you go on there, you can find out exactly how much these guys spend. Based on the uh, invoices and claims they've made. All of it is available to view, but we're not gonna go into all that. So just a quick glance at what MPs make, what they are afforded. You can view the website and read it in more details. Okay, so you know exactly what they are afforded and why the same is not afforded to the people. Again, it's afforded to the people, but we're not taking advantage of it. You understand what I'm saying? We're just not taking advantage of it. Anyways, let's move on into some of the news that we have. We've got how China's soaring COVID numbers put the rest of the world at risk. Guys, we know what the plan is at the moment. We're going through a shift in geopolitical power, and we're moving into a new age, which is the digital age. So they're not just going to outright tell you what they're doing, because they don't want you to prepare. They don't want you to participate. Again, it's all about the participation. They don't want the average people to participate in these things. Because if we all do, then that means we will all understand what's going on and we will all benefit from what's going on. But they don't want that. Next, we've got Foxconn to work on the COVID bubble in Shenzhen until Sunday document. Guys, they basically they're creating, how can I put it? Almost like giving some of these companies licenses to work, even though they're saying, infection rate is soaring and stuff like that, which doesn't make sense. Guys, if we're in a real pandemic, nobody's working. You understand what I'm saying? Everything will be shut down. You understand? But we know it's a joke. It's all a movie. They're creating the problem, shutting down the economy, right? Causing supply chain issues and all sorts of other crap that's gonna come back to bite us all in the ass later on, so that they can bring in the new digital economy. Okay, they're creating a problem in order to offer us a solution. That's the game plan. Moving on, we've got Client Earth launches legal action against Shell over net zero failings. So shareholder activism group Client Earth launched legal action against energy giant Shell yesterday over failure to properly prepare for the net zero transition, claiming the firm's inaction is risking jobs and damaging the planet. Guys, the only thing that's been risking job is this pandemic, this war, everything they've been doing. Those are the things that have been risking jobs. But they want to turn around and say Shell is risking job because they don't want to transition to green economy, to change the way they're working. Of course, that's going to cause a lot of disruption, and a lot of people will lose their jobs because it's a new way of working, which is going to exclude a lot of people. When they say net zero transition, they're basically talking about automation, green energy, you know, bringing in robots, algorithm, all those sort of things that don't require a human being. That's basically all they're talking about, and that's gonna risk more jobs. So, guys, when you're reading these things, don't look at it from the perspective they want you to look at it from. Look at it from the perspective of what they're asking these guys to do, what are the activities involved in what these guys are actually doing, and how that will impact people. The central banks have mentioned it several times. The new economy will leave out a lot of people, and that's the fact of the matter. It will leave out a lot of people. Moving on, we've got HSBC sets out more ambitious climate target after pressure from investors. HSBC has scaled up its climate commitment today after coming under fire from a group of investors for a lackluster target on sustainability. So, guys, this is when it says sustainability, right? Basically, what they're saying is they won't be able to make money if they don't move along with the climate agenda, which again goes back to the uh, net zero transition here. You understand what I'm saying? Because the government will make it very difficult for businesses to operate. That's why only the big businesses will survive the transition. They're the only one that will be able to afford to change the way they work. The average Joes, the local chippies and all that, they're gonna shut down. You understand? Because they won't be able to afford this, the cost of transitioning to the new ways of working. So moving on, we've got P&O lays off 800 people following 100 million loss. So guys, as we've mentioned, the pandemic, you know, shipping and everything is shut down, guys. Everything, meaning businesses are losing out on profit, meaning their business is no longer sustainable. They're taking a loss. You understand what I'm saying? And if you can't sustain your business, which the only way you can do that is by making profit, then of course you're gonna have to reduce your operation to a level in which it's sustainable. So that's what you see these guys doing, laying off people. But guys, we know they've got plans for the people that are gonna be jobless. There's universal basic income coming. Jobless people will get universal basic income, programmable money, central bank digital currency that will tell them when, where, and what they can buy. It's crazy. Next, we've got Nigeria. 100 million barrels of oil unaccounted for in 2019. Allegations of corruption have often been levied against the Nigerian oil company. So, guys, this is nothing new. 100 million barrels of oil, that's billions of dollars in revenue. You understand what I'm saying? And when we're talking about corruption, we need to extend that to all the entities that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation deals with, which is the likes of Shell, BP. All these guys, they are part of the corruption. Okay, they're part of the immediate group that allow the corruption to happen, because they're the one doing the drilling and all sorts. You understand? And the Nigerian Petroleum Corporation that's supposed to oversee all those things, they turn a blind eye while these guys funnel out millions and millions of barrels of oil, which they add to their reserves and circulate within their economy. Okay, while they leave Nigerians to suffer without, oil, which is gonna create, significant increase in prices. So guys, this is nothing new. We know how a lot of these things work, but it will be interesting to see what happens going forward, especially with China becoming the major power in Africa, and of course, leaving the Europeans behind. So, next here, and I believe this is the last one. Actually, the New Jersey one is the last one. We've got Saudi Arabia considers accepting yuan instead of dollars for Chinese oil sale. It's only a matter of time before this happens, guys. Uh, China is gonna become the new world reserve currency, and I've been mentioning it, but it's gonna become glaring as time goes on. Okay, because people don't tend to believe something until they see it happening. But you don't need to wait to see something happening. You just have to see the parties, the entities involved on what they're doing. Okay, and you'll see that they're trying to make it happen. So lastly here we've got New Jersey to study environmental impact of offshore wind project. Atlantic City, New Jersey officials will commission studies on the environmental impact of offshore wind energy projects on animals as large as whales and small as clams. Guys, you think they say they're saving the environment, right? And you think they would have done all this study before they claim that they're saving the environment, right? By want to implement all this green energy, get rid of all, destabilize the entire world economy, right? By forcing in all this technology that they don't really understand, looked into, that are not even sustainable. Because tell me, is it windy all the time? It's not windy all the time. So how is that a sustainable way of running an economy? Because we need energy to run the economy. We need energy to produce things. Okay? We do. So if we're talking about renewable energy, wind farms, um, solar panels, and all this jazz, they're not sustainable because those things are all dependent on weather. Unless this, we know they can manipulate weather. Unless that's what they're gonna do to create these things, which means we're in for shit, man. We're in for shit. All right. So guys, look at this article. Does it make sense that they're just doing a study now when they're already pushing to get these things implemented? Shouldn't the study have happened before implementation? Because that's the way I was taught. You carry out studies and surveys before you do anything, so you know exactly what you can and cannot do and how to do what you need to do. But we know it's an agenda, it's a movie, and they're gonna do what they want to do. And the way you catch them out is by seeing crass articles like this. It's absolutely barbaric, guys. Okay, and if you read articles like this and you don't see the problem in them actually trying to do a study on something they've already started implementing, then you don't understand how things should actually work. Okay, you actually don't. You understand what I'm saying? Because it makes no sense. Let's move on to some crypto news. We've got an article here by Cyprus Mail. Be ready to lose all your money in crypto, EU regulators warn. So consumers risk losing all their money invested in crypto assets and could fall prey to scams, the European Union Securities, Banking and Insurance Watchdog said in a joint statement on Thursday. Guys, we know the only people stealing our money and creating the scams are the government. It's the same people, the same regulators, right? They're the ones doing all the illicit activities. Hence why they don't want regulations yet. We could have received regulation on the on since these things have started coming and be used in the economy. Cryptos aren't new. Cryptos have been about for decades. Okay, we could have had there could have been regulations in place for a while now, but we know that's not what they want. They want the illegal activities, the immoral, illicit activities to carry on. They're the ones stealing your money. That's why don't keep your money on exchanges and don't fall for no scam. And how you don't fall for scam is if it's too good to be true, then it's a scam. Okay? If someone tells you send me 5 BTC and I'll send you 5,000 BTC, come on. Come on. You don't have to be a genius to know that's a scam. Nobody is going to do that. It's like saying someone giving you £20 of gold and you giving someone £20 of gold and they'll change that to £40 of gold without you even doing anything in a short space of time. Okay, that's why it's important to understand that investing is all about long term. If you want to make quick money, then it's a scam. Okay, quick money is only from scam. Time is all about everything. Coinbase enables users to fund wallets from Chrome browser extension. It's an especially simplified process for American and Canadian Coinbase users who can use their debit cards for transfer. Guys, all about adoption. And remember, whoever can make it seamless for the people is going to be the winner. So everything you're seeing, they don't want you to think about what you're doing. They just want you to push button and things just happen. Because when you think, then you understand what's going on and you can actually voice your opinion and change things. But if you can't think, then of course they'll set the regulations for you and it will not necessarily benefit you. Okay? It's just what it is. Moving on, we've got Aave set to launch third version of its DeFi protocol across 6 networks. So Aave's third version, stylized as Aave version 3, will be available across 6 networks. So Polygon, Phantom, Avalanche, Arbitrum, Optimism, and Harmony. So guys, this, if you want to make quick cash, right? This is the only reason things like this are good for. It's all about that quick cash. In the short term, the Aave price will go up, Polygon price will go up, Phantom price will go, Avalanche price will go up, and so on and so forth. So while they're doing all that, you'll see the price increase because it takes money to make money. You understand what I'm saying? So you'll see all these different protocols increase in price in the short term, and once the integration is completed, that's it. You'll see the price drop. It's just what it is. So in the meantime, you can have a look at this and see if you can still make some buck. Not financial advice. Moving on, we've got Ape token tied to Bored Ape Yacht Club. NFT sinks 80% in opening hours. The Ape coin token airdrop to Bored Ape NFT owners is off to a rough start, falling from $39.40 to as low as $6.48. Guys, don't follow hype. Okay, we know art. NFT is just art, and art is used for money laundering. It don't matter what. That's why you see certain artwork. They're so ugly. I'm I'm talking about ugly ass paintings that makes no, especially a lot of these abstract paintings. It makes no sense whatsoever, and they're being sold for 5 million, 10 million. That's money laundering, guys. Because whoever's selling it is commanding that price, and whoever wants to buy it just wants to store that 10 million in the form of art. So they say this art is worth 10 million. So guys, understand that a lot of these things are just hype, and don't don't fall for it because it will cost you your money. And lastly, here we've got metaverse switch. Young people jump ship from Facebook and embrace virtual reality platform. Look at Zucker, that weird eyes, man. The metaverse could become a mainstream way to make friends and even date, with nearly a fifth of young people ready to ditch more conventional social media platforms. with more than a tenth having already made their own metaverse avatar. Data from then internet highlighted that 18% of 16 to 24-year-olds are already using the virtual platform, and a quarter will spend at least an hour on it by 2026. Guys, this is how they're gonna get the young people. Okay? Metaverse. Ooh, come in, play game, meet people, have fun, entertain yourself. Virtual concerts. Guys, there's nothing wrong with technology. Okay? It can be used for good and it can be used for evil. But the end game plan for these guys is they're trying to take away people's privacy and rights. So, guys, that's all I have for you today. I appreciate you all spending the time with me. I'm gonna get better and better and better in making this video short, but for now, please bear with me. It's a lot of information to try and fit in. So, with all that being said, please share with your family, friends, and loved ones, because we all need to understand what's going on and how we can either change the system or dump it and get a new system altogether. But that requires a collective. Not just one person can do that. That's why it's important we pay attention to the legislation and the bills that are going around within the parliament. All right, these legislations are a form of trust. Okay, where the beneficiaries, the government, and the agents are the trustees. You understand what I'm saying? If a legislation doesn't explicitly state something, then you don't need to do it. If someone is not mentioned in the legislation, you don't need to deal with them because it's got nothing to do with them. So, for example, you look at DVLA. DVLA has been issuing licenses to people, but there's no legislation that gives DVLA an authority to issue driver's license to people. If you look at the Road Traffic Act that deals with the granting of driver's license, you'll see that the Secretary of State is the person you're supposed to give a notice of application to grant you driver's license, not the bloody DVLA. The DVLA is just a data storage entity. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to store drivers' data and information. Okay, you're not supposed to make applications to them. That's why it's important. Get involved in the system. Get involved, because that's how you know what you can and cannot do, and the administrative processes required to do the things that you need to do within the system. All right. You don't need to spend Federal Reserve note. Okay. You can issue bill of exchange, promissory notes, because it's all the same. There's no money. All of these things are debt instrument. A bond is an evidence of a debt. The fiat currency we spend is an evidence of a debt. You understand what I'm saying? We need to understand these things, and of course, as time goes on, I'll be explaining these things more. But we all need to get recondition our mind to to remove the garbage that's been implanted in it through the indoctrination, the education system, and so on, and feed our mind with new information. You understand? So, without further ado, peace, love, and light to every single one of you out there. I'll catch you on another episode.